Welcome, everybody, to Take Two on this Thursday evening. I'm Heather Holmes, along with Alex Savage. Nice to have you with us. Yeah. And we're going to continue the conversation, Alex, on something that I brought viewers as breaking news just a short time ago on the news at 7:30, and that is that we have a ruling from that three-judge panel of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco, considering the legal battle between the Trump administration and the state of California.
And the question was really over whether President Trump had the authority to mobilize National Guard troops to L.A. to deal with protests and unrest in the city over the objections of Governor Newsom. So the state of California took legal action, filed suit, and they initially got an order that was favorable to them. The appeals court was considering an appeal from the Trump administration, and now we have a ruling here from a three-judge panel, as you said, of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and this is a ruling in favor of President Trump, essentially allowing the president to continue to have control of the National Guard troops in L.A. here. Essentially, what the appeals court did is they blocked a lower court order that had said that President Trump overstepped his authority by mobilizing the National Guard here. So, yeah, what's happening in our newsroom is we just got word that this ruling has come down from this panel of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco. Everyone's kind of processing all of it and what it means in real time and what the implications are. Right. We should point out, as we're talking to you right now, there are still lots of open questions about what's happening. This ruling, we were expecting it was going to come at some point this week from the Court of Appeals. The hearing, if I'm not mistaken, was Monday?
For tomorrow.
I'm sorry, but the arguments were heard on Monday by that three-judge panel, or was it Tuesday? Okay, it could have been.
I don't remember, honestly.
It just sometimes, it tends to be a blur.
Yes.
Time is hard to sort of wrap my head around.
But we knew that a hearing was scheduled for tomorrow, so we anticipated that a decision would have been made.
But that was a hearing that was scheduled by Judge Charles Breyer, the U.S. District Court judge who made the initial ruling. So he had scheduled a hearing. Now one of the questions that we just don't know the answer to is whether that hearing is going to go on, or if that hearing just sort of becomes moot now that the Court of Appeals has ruled in favor of the Trump administration here. Right,
and that's something that we'll try to find out. Our political reporter, Greg Lee, who has been doing a great job covering all of this, he did supply us with some information. He's been talking with legal analysts trying to break this down, and he says as of right now, that district court hearing for the injunction I mean, there's so much, legal terms here, but it is still on the calendar for tomorrow. So we really don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but it does seem as though it would be unlikely for that hearing to take place.
Doesn't seem to be a need for that hearing to take place tomorrow. The question now is, how will the state of California respond to this ruling in favor of the Trump administration? You have to imagine, in all likelihood, that the state is probably going to appeal this in some form or fashion. I mean, we had talked about the expectation that this is, in all likelihood, going to ultimately have to be settled by the U.S. Supreme Court here. So you have to feel like that's where this is all headed. But at this point, there's no word from any state leaders, from Governor Newsom, about how the state plans to proceed after this ruling from the Court of Appeals tonight. Again, this ruling in favor of President Trump, essentially allowing the president to continue to have control over the National Guard. And the decision from the appeals court here, the judges essentially found that the president was within the law when he decided to federalize California's National Guard troops to respond to the unrest that was unfolding in Los Angeles. And we did get that sense during the hearing that there was going to be a lot of deference paid to the
this is the way that they were going.
Broad authority to be able to mobilize the military in situations where the president felt a rebellion was unfolding. Obviously, that was a word that was sort of heavily debated, whether or not this was in fact a rebellion. But in essence, the appeals court in San Francisco has ruled in favor of the president, said the president has wide latitude to make decisions like this. So we're going to see where this case heads from here.
Yeah, and I imagine that, state lawmakers are also chewing over all of this, and that probably by the 10 o'clock news tonight, we will have some some sort of reaction or response from either Attorney General Rob Bonta or the governor himself, Governor Newsom. So be sure to tune in tonight.
Yeah, we'll keep following
on the 10 o'clock news. And again, just want to stress the importance of those push alerts, because I'm sure if there is any sort of legal challenge or next step in the process, we'll get that out to you folks about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so we will move along here and talk about another important story that affects so many people all across the Bay Area, and that is concerns about wildfires here. We have the kind of conditions that really do get you a little bit worried here right now. You have windy conditions and you have lower humidity levels. That's what the folks in our weather department have been tracking here, and that has already led to PG&E shutting off power, doing some of these preemptive power shutoffs that we know they do when there's the threat of wildfires. They've shut off the power for about 1,000 people.
Yeah, I think we have an outage map that shows the location of the outages. If you take a look at this screen, kind of hard to decipher, but all you really need to know is that those purple triangles there, that represents places where there are, in fact, these intentional outages. Right. And as you can see, most of them are in the East Bay. And our reporter, John Krinjak, was talking with people in the Clayton area who have been affected. They sort of say, yes, it's inconvenient, but we understand the need for it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you do understand why they do it here. And I was talking to Mark Tamayo as I saw him earlier in the newsroom. I was asking him how long he thinks that this sort of concerning fire weather will continue. He was thinking about through Saturday. That's kind of the time frame that we should be keeping an eye out and being extra careful about avoiding any fire starts and making sure that we're careful with these kinds of conditions here. So we have the dangerous fire weather continuing at least for the next couple of days as we head into the weekend.
Yeah, something
and the
to
power
be
shut
mindful
off
of
tonight.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Can we talk, though, about Juneteenth celebrations?
Yeah.
Happening
a lot of them
all
today.
over the Bay Area. I mean, in San Francisco, that was great. We had, the woman on who was helping to plan the event there at Mid-Market. She was talking about the great turnout. And then I had Crystal Bailey on at 7:30. And she, her story tonight of the Oakland Museum and what was going on there. A really good turnout. People seemed to be energized and excited. And it was great to see.
That was the Hella Juneteenth celebration right there at the garden at the Oakland Museum of California. And obviously just an incredible celebration of Black freedom, of Black joy. And then that block party in San Francisco looked like it was going to be a lot of fun. In fact, we talked with one of the organizers of that Juneteenth celebration in the city about the significance of this federal holiday.
Especially in the last 4 years, Juneteenth has really gained traction as a holiday that not only Black Americans can celebrate, but the whole community can celebrate around liberation and joy. That's what this holiday is centered on. So we had no issues getting folks to sign up to participate. The streets are full. I think the holiday was long overdue, first of all. I think when you think about the spirit of Juneteenth, knowing that it took 2.5 years for the news to reach Galveston, Texas, and over 250,000 folks were still enslaved long after the Emancipation Proclamation. When we go to present day, we can still think about a lot of the rights that are being denied to us, a lot of the ways that many of us still don't feel like we're being included as full citizens. So there is still a very strong message attached to this Juneteenth celebration, not just for Black Americans and what we feel is owed and deserving to us, but also to all Americans.
And that, in her mind, that's exactly what this holiday is all about. And she was expecting a huge turnout there at their block party in San Francisco. This is called Unstaged 2025. So they do this every third Thursday of the month. And this is the kickoff tonight. And it just so happens to land on Juneteenth, which is fantastic. So they're expecting an even bigger crowd. And that was happening right along Market between 5th and 6th, where they shut the street down. Musicians come out. You have artists in
entertainment zones, so you can pick up a drink, walk around, listen to this great music, see this great artwork by, and tonight, obviously, the people participating primarily from Black communities to kind of shine a spotlight on their talent. But yeah, I think it's great. And as she said, it's just grown, right, in terms of the amount of people that want to come out and celebrate and mark this day.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to take a quick break here on Take Two Nightly. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at one of the big stories we're working on for the 10 o'clock news tonight. We have a bona fide basketball star.
We do.
Here in the Bay Area tonight, and it is all the talk. We're going to talk about Caitlin Clark's visit to the Bay Area right after the break. Here we go. We're back here on Take Two Nightly. We want to talk about one of the big, all the big stories we're working on for the 10 o'clock news tonight. So we are going to turn things over
to this guy.
All right. Hey,
what's up, man?
You pretty much hit it off the top. I heard you on the sidelines there talking about the legal back and forth between the National Guard, the Governor Newsom, President Trump. So right now we're moving things around. So that was not our lead story 30 minutes ago. So right now we are pulling that up. We are going to lead with that right now. We are getting sound from Professor Jessica Levinson from Royal and Marymount.
She's been great. On the show.
She's fantastic.
Really good at providing context.
She's going to break it down for us, and we are still waiting to hear from the governor's office, maybe the governor himself, as well as the attorney general. So that will be our lead tonight at 10 o'clock. You mentioned also some big superstar basketball player.
Yeah, who is that?
Well, I thought you were going to throw my name out because I was out there on the side ready to come in. No.
I know you can move, probably.
There she is right there, Caitlin Clark. The Valkyries are hosting Caitlin Clark in the Fever at Chase Center tonight. Her first time in that uniform playing in San Francisco. Look, I think Caitlin Clark is what I call a PI.
What does that stand for?
Any guesses?
No.
Come on. Just real quick. We'll guess. I for influence.
Public
influencer?
Popularity.
So,
influencer.
My daughter has a Caitlin Clark jersey from her college days, and I think there are grown adults out there who have Caitlin Clark jerseys. So she's a superstar, right?
Bona fide star. Yeah.
I mean, even Draymond Green said she should have been on the Olympic team.
Shoots the lights out.
U.S. men's Olympic team in Paris, right? Shoots the lights out. Tickets to get into this game, you know, I looked about a month ago. It was a couple $1,000 to get close to the court.
Yeah.
So Amber Lee's out there just following this Caitlin Clark craze and the Valkyries, of course, in our inaugural season. So she'll have a live report from Chase Center on all that.
But she's a phenomenon, and it's just wherever she goes,
people want to go.
People want to be
in
the building. It's just remarkable when you look at how the ticket prices they just shoot up.
Great for the game.
It's
great.
Even this
great
past
for women's
weekend,
sports.
because she was injured for a couple of games, so she came back this past weekend to take on Liberty, and it was like the third most watched televised WNBA game ever. So the ratings through the roof with Caitlin Clark wherever she goes. Now some of the players that she takes on likes to rough her up a little bit.
Yeah, no, I heard about that. So in one of her last games, she got kind of knocked to the ground or something. What exactly happened? I didn't.
Yeah, banged around. It was like a whistle and a foul, and she shoved back, and then one of the other teammates came in and shoved her to the ground, and then on a play that happened a little bit later, then one of Caitlin Clark's teammates took down the. I mean, it was back and forth. No one got suspended after all that. Like there were flat fouls given, but the league never suspended any of the players, which is another issue. So I think that that's a whole other topic. But yeah, she's a target on the court, but she's a star in our household.
And you know what? When we had Bailey on the show at 4, she talked about, Bailey did, the number of people she saw with Caitlin Clark jerseys heading into tonight's game. Bailey obviously out there covering the game as well at Chase Center. So,
All right, full coverage.
Full coverage. Anything else you want?
Caitlin Clark fever.
Caitlin Clark fever is there.
Right.
Now, that is a big story out at Chase Center.
It's a big deal. All right, good.
Big night.
But hopefully the Valkyries can ruin.
I know, that's what we want.
Ruin her visit to the Bay Area. You know, don't take it the wrong way, Caitlin, but we want to get the win. All right. I think we're going to take a quick break here on Take 2 Nightly. We'll be right back with much more.
Okay, welcome back, everybody, to Take 2 Nightly. You know, just last night, we were talking about the city of Berkeley and the council giving this final approval of a new wildfire safety plan, right? That's where people in 2 neighborhoods in the Berkeley Hills essentially need to create 5 feet of buffer. So that's no vegetation, no plants, nothing
And this got some pushback, as you can imagine.
It did.
From neighbors, right? I mean, folks you know, it's a lot of work to do this.
Yeah, and then also people take a lot of pride in their yards, front yards, backyards, that sort of thing. But ultimately, fire officials say this comes down to safety. And so tonight, I had on the Berkeley fire chief, David Sprague, to kind of talk with him about, okay, this has been approved, now what happens next? And he said, we're going to give residents time. They're going to, almost a year to comply, to bring their properties in compliance. So they're going to start the inspections, but they're just going to come by, have a conversation with you about what your property looks like now, the changes that you need to make, and then how the city might be able to assist you in coming into compliance.
So the whole idea is, as we sort of alluded to last night, but it sounds like the fire chief was making the same point. This is, they don't want a punitive approach. They're not going to jump right to issuing citations here as soon as this takes effect. This is about education. It's about cooperation. It's about working with homeowners to figure out the best way to try to keep the whole neighborhood safe, frankly. Because the idea with these wildfires, once you get them in, you know, when it moves from the wildland areas into these urban areas, the idea is if one house goes, then in all likelihood the next house and the next house and the next house starts to go. And so that's really what they're trying to prevent here. So you're doing this not just to save your own home, but to save everybody's home in that particular
And that really was his message tonight, that this isn't about citation, it is about protection. And that's what, the approach of the city. And I did ask him, because some of the homeowners are really upset and have actually threatened to sue. And I asked him if he felt like the plan would be able to survive a legal challenge. And he said, yes, it's based on a lot of clear data that shows that these are high-risk fire areas, and that this action will, in fact, save property, save lives, and that it is in the best interest of the communities to take this action.
Yeah, and that's interesting. The legal questions about whether it would survive a challenge, I think, are important, because Berkeley is going further than any other municipality has gone here in California. This is the strictest ordinance, as I understand it, of this kind in California. So if they believe in Berkeley that this survives a legal challenge, then that, in all likelihood, means you see other cities and counties doing the same thing.
We talked about that, right, whenever this idea first came about, was if it's successful in Berkeley, there are chances, and the chances are pretty good, that other municipalities will adopt something very similar.
Interesting. All right, we will continue to follow that, because, of course, we're heading into the heart of fire season. It is, of course, year-round fire season for us in California, but the heart of fire season really here over the next few months. So we'll keep following those kinds of stories. One more story here before we head out tonight. There is, we know the A's have left Oakland here, and we know the plans are to build that new ballpark right along the Las Vegas Strip. But it sounds like an important milestone is coming up next week. So the groundbreaking ceremony for the A's new ballpark there in Las Vegas is happening this Monday.
You mean in just a few days, Monday?
In just a few days, Monday, which feels like it
kind of
feels
happened
early.
Quick.
Yeah, it does feel like things have moved along here. There actually has been a lot of work going on at that site. What they've already done is, you might remember, they imploded the Tropicana. They brought it down. They've been clearing that site. They've been prepping that site. Obviously, there's a lot of work that has to be done. But this is really a significant moment here, and I think it's gonna make fans of the A's sort of, it might make you think that this is really about to happen. If you might have thought in the back of your mind that maybe there was a chance this project wasn't going to move forward in Las Vegas, or things may fall apart, I think, an official groundbreaking, it's not definitive.
But
this doesn't necessarily mean that everything goes along, that the funding comes into place, because there's all those questions about funding. But it certainly is a very important step that really sort of signifies that this project is moving forward. So on Monday, we're going to have A's ownership there. Of course, A's owner John Fisher, obviously, who's faced quite a bit of criticism from A's fans as he moved the team out of Oakland. And, of course, now they're playing temporarily at the minor league ballpark in West Sacramento until this stadium in Vegas is ready. Also, the governor of Nevada is going to be there, the mayor of Las Vegas as well, and the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, is going to be on hand. Obviously, he gave the blessing for the A's to go start looking elsewhere when they couldn't get a stadium deal done in Oakland. And the commissioner called this groundbreaking on Monday a big day for MLB in Vegas. And the commissioner is confident this stadium gets built in time for the 2028 season. That's what they are aiming for here. But still, important to point out, some really tough financial questions that still have to be settled. This is a $1.75 billion stadium they want to build there right along the Strip in Las Vegas. They got $380 million in state funding approved from the legislature in Nevada. But the A's, the team, is responsible for coming up with the rest.
That's a big hole.
Chunk. It is.
It's a big
and so you remember earlier this week, John Fisher, owner of the A's, who also owns the San Jose Earthquakes.
Right.
Right. And the big story earlier this week was John Fisher is looking to sell the San Jose Earthquakes.
Maybe he needs some money.
Maybe he needs some money. What could it be for?
Yeah, I don't know.
So anyway, hold on, we're getting an update.
Yes.
Okay.
What's the score?
Valkyries. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Update on the Valkyries Fever game with Caitlin Clark happening at Chase Center.
They're just trailing by 4.
Valkyries down 4 points as they start the fourth quarter. That's easy.
I think we can pull off the win.
We can work with that.
Yeah.
Just don't let Caitlin Clark get hot down the stretch. All right. That does it for Take Two Nightly.
Yep.
We appreciate you watching.
Good night.